how many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. I hope you had a great weekend. Happy Monday. And don't forget to start your day on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
It's the only way.
Let's get this going right now.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Only way to start your day, Bill. Great cup of coffee. And, you know, Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee is made from the finest Colombian coffee beans. Well, we have some other coffee beans we use too, but we do use Colombian coffee beans, and it's a medium blend roast and a medium decaf roast. So if you have a problem with caffeinated coffee, I can't drink coffee and it's caffeine in it, try the decaf. It's just as flavorful. It's Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, not to be confused with any other kind of Right Side coffee. Mm-hmm. And you can find it on our website. It's actually a storefront that we've created. It's called rightsideshop.com. Rightsideshop.com. You'll see it there. You can order it, and it'll be at your doorstep before you know it.
Now, I heard tell there's actually another coffee that we have.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
I heard that it showed up over the weekend on the website that there was Mappa.
Really?
Coffee. Yeah. Make America percolate again.
Oh, I like that. Make America. Yeah. That was the slogan for one of our listeners who was kind enough to pass it along to us.
You should see the picture of the spokesperson.
Yeah. They have to really check it out for themselves to truly get the whole experience of seeing that picture. You have to check it out. Go to rightsideshop.com and look at the packaging for Mappa coffee, okay? By the way, it's MAPA, Make America Percolate Again, and thanks, hat tip again to our friend Bart down in Vero Beach, who listens regularly, man of great taste, and obviously a man who loves his coffee, too. And whoever would have thought that a listener would be so kind as to give us a little suggestion like that, and who knows, it becomes a major brand someday, you know? You never know.
You never know.
No.
I do know that there were a couple of purchases already I saw on that. So,
really,
I guess when people say, the packaging alone, and I don't want to just sell that, but the coffee, it's good coffee.
Yes,
the packaging alone, is
what you're saying is people would buy it just for the package.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of like buying an NFT. It has a certain value to it. Well, you'll see.
Again, just go to rightsideshop.com and it's there, okay? Rightsideshop.com. Yesterday, people say, Biden was a good president. Biden hardly ever talked to anybody.
He was not a good president. Let's get this out of
the way. Well, that's the Democrats who say that. They try to convince you that Biden was a great president.
Well, they try to convince you a lot of stuff, and it's all lies.
And some of my old
conjecture,
some of my old friends who were from radio who were leftists and not paying attention.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
I read some of their little tidbits on Facebook, and I think, oh man. Crack a book, okay? I'm just saying, crack a book, read up on some stuff, and maybe get back to yourself. A lot of guys and a lot of people in general, they make an evaluation based upon superficial things, and they don't really look into what's going on behind the scenes. President Trump yesterday, he comes back from Mar-a-Lago about 7:30, lands in Washington at Andrews Air Force Base, and he comes down the flight of stairs, and there's a group of press at the foot of the stairs, and he walks right over to him. And he carries on a 10-minute press conference, impromptu, answers whatever questions they have, and it went like this. Listen.
We had a very busy weekend. We got the 6 hostages out of Venezuela, as you probably know, and they're very safe right now. They're home with their families, and we appreciate the hard work of a lot of people, including Rick Grinnell. We appreciate the cooperation from Venezuela, and we have some very happy people right now. Nobody thought that was going to happen. So they are home, they're safe, and they're with their families. That was a big one. State Rubio is in Panama right now, and we're talking about the Panama Canal. What they've done is terrible. They violated the agreement. They're not allowed to violate the agreement. China's running the Panama Canal. That was not given to China. That was given to Panama foolishly. But they violated the agreement, and we're going to take it back, or something very powerful is going to happen. And as far as other things are concerned, as you know, we had a very busy weekend. We're dealing with Israel. We're dealing with Ukraine and Russia. We have meetings and talks scheduled with various parties, including Ukraine and Russia. And I think those discussions are actually going pretty well. The discussions on the Middle East with Israel and various and sundry other countries are progressing. Bibi Netanyahu's coming on Tuesday, and I think we have some very big meetings scheduled.
President, do you feel that Elon Musk is delivering on his promises to you? Do you feel he's doing a good job right now?
I do. I think Elon's doing a good job. He's a big cost cutter. Sometimes we won't agree with it and will not go where he wants to go, but I think he's doing a great job. He's a smart guy, very smart, and he's very much into cutting the budget of our federal government.
Mr. President. Also retaliatory tariffs from Canada. It's also retaliatory tariffs from Canada. As a rider in the border, are you planning to increase the tariffs against Canada?
Well, it could happen. If they do anything, we will. Canada's been very abusive of the United States for many years. They don't allow our banks. Did you know that? Canada does not allow banks to go in. If you think about it, that's pretty amazing. If we have a U.S. bank, they don't allow them to go in. Canada's been very tough on oil, on energy. They don't allow our farm products in, essentially. They don't allow a lot of things in, and we allow everything to come in. It's been a one-way street. We subsidize Canada by the tune of about $200 billion a year. And for what? What do we get out of it? We don't get anything out of it. I love the people of Canada. I disagree with the leadership of Canada. And something's going to happen there. But if they want to play the game, I don't mind. We can play the game all they want. Mexico, we've had very good talks with them. And this is retaliatory. This is retaliatory to a certain extent. Millions of people flowed into our country through Mexico and Canada. And we're not going to allow that. And by the way, we have among the lowest numbers we've ever had of people crossing our border, the lowest numbers since my administration.
Mr. President, so on Truth Social, you said that you were going to cut aid from South Africa. Will you plan to cut aid across other African nations, and why South Africa?
No, it's only South Africa. Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
And on the Fed Chair Jerome Powell, he held rates. What's your reaction to him not changing the rates?
What did you say?
Fed Chair Jerome Powell, the Fed meeting was this week. He held the rates. He didn't cut them.
No, I'm not surprised. I think holding the rates at this point was the right thing to do.
President, when countries will be next on tariffs, would you consider taxing the UK, for example?
Well, we're going to see what happens. It'll happen. But we're going to fight. We'll see how things work out. It might happen with them, but it will definitely happen with the European Union. I can tell you that. Because they've really taken advantage of us. And, you know, we have over a $300 billion deficit. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm products. They take almost nothing. And we take everything from them. Millions of cars, tremendous amounts of food and farm products. So the UK is way out of line, and we'll see. The UK, but European Union is really out of line. UK is out of line, but I'm sure that one, I think that one can be worked out. But the European Union it's an atrocity, what they've done. Well, Prime Minister Starmer's been very nice. We've had a couple of meetings. We've had numerous phone calls. We're getting along very well. We'll see whether or not we can balance out our budget. With the European Union, it's $350 billion deficit. So obviously something's going to take place there.
What's the timeline? And are you thinking
Where?
along the
Where?
line 25%?
With who? With who?
How much?
I wouldn't say there's a timeline, but it's going to be pretty soon. No, I'm not going to say. We may have short-term some little pain, and people understand that. But long-term, the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country in the world. We have deficits with almost every country. Not every country, but almost. And we're going to change it. It's been unfair. That's why we owe $36 trillion. We have deficits with everybody. We help everybody. We've been helping everybody for years. And to be honest, I don't think they appreciate it. So we're going to change that. We're going to change it fast. We're going to make America great again. We have to focus on our country. We have tremendous potential if properly used, and we have to focus on our country. Tremendous deficits with China, tremendous deficits with the European Union, tremendous deficits with Mexico and Canada. And why? What's the purpose of that? Why would we have deficits? And you look at pharmaceuticals and drugs, if you look at various products, it's much cheaper in other countries. We're not going to allow that much longer. We're not going to take it. Well, it's been run by a bunch of radical lunatics, and we're getting them out. USAID, run by radical lunatics, and we're getting them out, and then we'll make a decision. I've spoken with people from Canada, I've spoken with people from Mexico, and I've spoken to a lot of other people too. I'm speaking with Prime Minister Trudeau tomorrow morning, and I'm also speaking with Mexico tomorrow morning. And I don't expect anything very dramatic. We put tariffs on. They owe us a lot of money, and I'm sure they're going to pay. About what? I don't think troops will be necessary in Panama. What Panama has done is terrible for national security for this part of the world. And, 70% of the signage on the Panama Canal was written in Chinese. It's not right. So it wasn't meant for China. It should have never been made. The deal was a ridiculous deal. We lost 38,000 people building the Panama Canal, one of the great wonders of the world. 38, it was the most expensive project ever built by this country, if you take it forward. The most expensive project ever built. We lost 38,000. And what happens? China owns it all of a sudden? It's not going to happen. We're not going to let that happen. We have national security concerns, and they wouldn't let it happen either. Mr. President, what would Canada and Mexico need to do for you to listen? What are specifically involved? That have to balance out their trade, number one. That's got to stop people from pouring into our country, and we've stopped it. They haven't stopped it. We've stopped it. They have to stop people from pouring in, and we have to stop fentanyl, and that includes China. Fentanyl has killed this year at least 200,000 people. It's pouring in from China through Mexico and Canada, and they've got to stop it. And if they don't stop it, the tariffs are going to get worse, a lot worse.
That was an impromptu press conference from President Trump last night at Andrews Air Force Base, and
Right.
he talked more then than Biden did all summer.
All year. What are you talking about?
that's
I mean,
true.
he just went on and on. He answered every question there is. And, as far as Canada goes, and people go, oh, they're going to get us now. The dollar in Canada, it dropped. Their currency dropped in value. So it happened in Mexico, too, with Trump enacting the tariffs. They're going to lose the battle. And like he said, Trump is saying, they don't take our stuff, but we take their stuff.
Yeah.
Well, then, you know what? We've got nothing to lose and everything to gain on that.
Yeah, he talked about China. I thought it was interesting. 70% of the signage at the canal is in Chinese. 70%. Mind you, we lost 38,000 of our people making the canal he thinks it's the eighth wonder of the world, and he says it's the biggest civil undertaking that we've ever done as a country. Building that canal.
That's true, and he is right. I mean, I saw photos here about a week or two ago down there, and if you're going through the canal or anywhere around, if you're an American, you better be armed or under armed guard, because it's Chinese military that runs it. You know, they, as far as they're concerned, it's theirs now. They have control of it because Panama gave it to them, and I think Trump is right. You know, he went 4 years in the first administration, not a conflict. I don't know that that's going to be quite so true, because Biden gave everything away. Now, Panama gave that away, but they didn't have the right to do it. And
well, actually, and the thing that really bothers me is the fact that Jimmy Carter in 1979 gave it to Panama for $1. You know, the billions of dollars. Unbelievable.
I think even liberals are going, well, that was stupid. But, of course, now he's a great guy, so all his stupid is good, because they can't say he was, you know, they want to say Democrat good in every accord. And that's not
I want to go over this list of things. He went over, in that 9 minutes and 38 seconds, he talked about China's presence in the Panama Canal, Israel, Netanyahu's visit this week, I guess it's tomorrow. He talked about the Ukraine and Russia. There are negotiations going on right now. There are discussions. He said that's going well, but nobody's talking about it. He talked about Elon Musk and Doge already doing some cuts into overspending in our government. He talked about, you know, that I didn't realize this. We have a $200 million Canadian subsidy. We subsidize Canada to a tune of $200 million. Why? What the hell are we subsidizing Canada for anything? $200
we
million?
should take that away. Just it's, you know, that's a drop in the bucket, but it all adds up.
Yep. He talked about the borders in Mexico. They asked him at the very end there, you probably heard it, what do the countries have to do to have the tariffs dropped? He said, very simple. They have to protect the border, stop the fentanyl from coming in from their countries. I was surprised to read yesterday, Bill, that actually last month more fentanyl came in from Canada than it did from Mexico. And they said that a lot of the fentanyl now is being made in Canada.
Yeah.
You know, unbelievable.
And it may be made here soon if we don't get this under control, because Biden let them in, and the cartel is set up in, I think, in Idaho and in the Midwest.
Yeah, so
I mean, they're anchored there.
Stop the illegal entries and cut back on the fentanyl problem in your country, and the tariffs will go away. Make that commitment. You know, Bill, I heard somebody say this morning, it's true. All that these countries have to do to get these things dropped is to say, we will do our best effort to stop the illegal entries into your country from our country, and we'll do our best effort to stop the illegal drug trade going into your country. That's all they have to do. But Trudeau hasn't done that yet. You know, he talked about South Africa. I didn't realize there was such a problem in South Africa. Apparently, it's pretty big. They're taking farms away from white farmers and stuff like that. It's not a good or democratic environment. It used to be for a long time that South Africa was like the jewel of Africa, but not anymore. He said he wasn't happy with the UK and that surprised me, the UK or the EU's trade situation. We're taking all their stuff, you know, but they're not taking any of our stuff. I was watching a TV show yesterday, and I was noticing all the cars were English, and you didn't see any American cars. And I was thinking, I wonder why that is. I wonder why you don't see like Chevrolets and stuff like that. We're one of the biggest auto manufacturers in the world, and it's because of tariffs and things like that. Also, he said he's not happy with. He said we may experience some short-term economic pain, but it will be short-term with this trade situation, because whatever they cut back on in Canada, we'll have to make up over here. But for example, Chuck Schumer yesterday goes on television. I don't know whether you saw this or not. And he says, well, now that we have this tariff, He says, you're going to see pain even at the Super Bowl. And he picks up a can of Mexican beer, right? You have a problem getting this? And then he picks up a avocado. And you're going to have a problem getting this.
Why?
Because they're grown. One is brewed in Mexico, one is grown in Mexico. And somebody on the panel that was doing that video, running that video, said, doesn't Schumer know that we also grow avocado here? And if you can't get the Mexican beer, we've got Budweiser, Miller, Coors, any number of great American beers.
What's the Mexican beer? Dos Equis?
No, well, it could be. I think it was. There was another. I can't. Modelo or something.
All right.
Anyway, the point is, there's so many other choices. It's not like you're going to say, "Oh, well, I can't have any beer now."
Okay. Well, actually, there are people that like that beer, but it is brewed maybe there and brought up here, and it's reprocessed and everything up here because there are different standards in this country than their country and alcohol levels. So it's redone here. So, them putting a tariff is probably putting a tariff on people that are immigrants that probably work there.
What you just said is if there's breweries in this country, they're not going to be affected.
Right.
So someone should tell Chuck that, hey, listen, it may be a Mexican brand, but we have breweries in this country that make that beer, and they're not going to be, there'll be no tariffs on the beer that's brewed here,
Now, one of my favorite go-to foods, believe it or not, is avocado. I love avocados. I've loved them since I was a kid. I used to sit there and take a bagel and make an avocado cream cheese bagel, some sprouts on it. I thought it was very healthy, except for maybe the cream cheese and the bagel. But either way,
it made you feel good.
Yeah, I love avocados. If you were stranded on an island and could only have one thing, avocado would be probably the best thing to have because it's very healthy. I say that because I grew up in California, and they grow avocados there. Tons and tons of avocados come from there. I think they do down in Florida too, but I know California does. Hell, there's even a grove by a lake that's got a lot of. If you're into mystery and legend, you do the legends of Avocado Lake, and it's
the legend of Avocado Lake.
Avocado Lake. There's some guys that do it as a joke, but actually there have been. I was always told you never go to Avocado Lake at night because there's strange lights and people that go there never come back. And there's a big giant avocado underwater that eats you.
Well, anyway, that's probably true. No. Anyway, this is interesting though. Chuck Schumer could very easily be talking about, don't worry about the Super Bowl because we have our American beers and our American avocado. Life is good. But Chuck sees the opportunity to go out there and try to scare the American people, to make them think that, oh, that big, bad boogeyman Trump has done it again to you. And there are some people on the left who will shudder and, shake with fear. But the fact of the matter is he hasn't done anything but help protect our country. But anyway, I wanted to read this to you. Chuck Schumer also has other things to worry about in case you aren't aware of this. The Department of Justice investigation into Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer officially kicked off late last month with a letter of inquiry sent to Schumer by interim D.C. U.S. Attorney Edward R. Martin. A copy of the full letter is circulating on social media. What they're doing is Chuck Schumer, you remember this. This was about 3 years ago. He got on the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court, and he threatened the Supreme Court justices. You hear me, Gorsuch? Hear me, Kavanaugh? You'll rule the day. He went through this whole rant as if he was going to incite violence against these justices. Well, apparently the statute of limitation on that, it ain't up yet. So the Department of Justice has decided, that's not the way a U.S. senator should be carrying himself. So they're looking into it. So Chuck Chuckles has some splaining to do, as they would say.
Yeah, he does. And you know what? As far as the Super Bowl goes, yes, there are a lot of American beers. And maybe it's time we sit there and, tip our, because I think the son of the Bushes, Anheuser-Busch, is taken back over, and he's really
he
trying to
wants
get the
to.
wokeness out.
He wants
So
to.
maybe it's time to pop a top on a new Bud.
Well, wait a
watch the
second. Did he
Super
buy it? I
Bowl.
know he wanted to. I don't know whether he
I
ever.
don't know.
No,
But either way,
I think he said, I want to buy it. I want to take the company back. That was the last I heard. Maybe I haven't heard anything since then.
He's been trying. But even if you don't want to do that, you got Coors, you got Olympia, you got all kinds of great Miller. There are all kinds of great American beers.
That's right.
And they're great for watching football games.
Take it from us.
Yeah, we would know stuff. If you want to go something with a crazy name, go Yingling. So there you go.
I can see it now. Someone walks up to the beer stand, and they walk over and say, I'll have a Modelo. I'm sorry, senor. It's going to cost you 25% more. Oh, I'll have a Bud.
Yeah. You have your favorite beer.
Yeah.
And you might go, so what? I want my Modelo.
Yeah.
Give it to me. If you want that beer,
Buy
you're
it.
going to pay for it.
Yeah,
you're going to buy it.
Pay 25% more for it.
And you'll enjoy it 25% more.
Yeah, right. All I can tell you is that these are small prices to pay for a stronger economy and a better country. And also think about this. When you make the sacrifice, the fact of the matter is you might be helping to stop fentanyl overdoses in our country, because that's what Trump is trying to do. He's trying to get these countries to commit to working hard to stopping those drugs that are killing our American citizens from pouring into this country. So,
well, I will also point out, too, if you're sitting there going, whoa, these prices are going crazy, there is a lag in any time, like Trump's been in, 9 days or whatever it is. He hasn't even been in just a few weeks. Some of the people that he's appointed have only been in for 24 hours, but things have happened. Might I tell you that is the trickle-down effect? It is from the previous administration. All their bad is coming home to roost. I would say that, some of the DEI things, dare I say, and they've been trying to cover that up, but it is not because necessarily a person has a certain sexual orientation that things went wrong. Not saying that at all. But they may have gotten the job because of their sexual orientation, but they weren't qualified 100%, even close to 100%.
I should also point out, Bill, it's 2 weeks today that he was sworn in. 2 weeks today.
2 weeks.
2 weeks,
okay.
yeah.
So anything he's done hasn't even come to fruition yet.
Right.
Or felt yet. What you're talking about, like, I didn't buy eggs the other day, the 18 egg carton, and I would normally pick up for, even then I thought it was high, with $4 or $5 is now $12.99, $13. I'm going, keep your eggs, the 12 carton, one, well, that's $6. My son goes, I don't want eggs. I'm going, like, you can do without eggs. And the reason for that may be, with the bird flu and everything, Biden started shutting down.
Well, Bill, you and I have talked about this. How many farms over the last year and a half, food processing plants and farms have been destroyed by, fire? For God knows, some crazy reason, they've had these massive fires. Just about 2 months ago down in Texas, the largest chicken farm in the country burned.
So the supply chain has already been stressed.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you have Biden coming in, bird flu, got to shut down. Oh, I don't know, maybe the biggest one out there, the Atlanta plant. And all of a sudden, as soon as they went snap with that, and before he was officially out of office, and then the prices, skyrocketed. Well, see what happened when Trump got in? Yeah, see what happened? But you did it.
Yeah.
And yes, there is a bird flu, and maybe it had to be shut down. Maybe it didn't. But let's be honest. It's on you. Let's be honest. What went on, if there was a problem with hires in air traffic controllers?
Yeah. Well, that's
on them. That's carryover.
If you're wondering what we're talking about per se, I mean, there was apparently, first of all, I don't understand how they can release the pictures and the resumes of 2 of the 3 people who were on the military helicopter in the crash in D.C. They released those almost right away. The two male, the warrant officer and the captain, were released almost immediately, but the third picture was withheld, and then her social media sites were scrubbed. Everything on her social media site was removed, as if they don't want you to know her background, because they don't want it to be an issue.
Rebecca Loback.
Okay.
Or Lobach.
Right. So, I mean, the fact of the matter is, what Bill said is true. I don't care what her sexual preference is at all. What I do care about is whether she had enough training to be sitting behind the yoke of Black Hawk helicopter at nighttime with nighttime glasses on.
Well, let me ask you something. She was 27, 28 years old. And, you know, they said she's got over 400 hours flight time. So 400 hours, all right? What is it? Takes 40 hours to sit there and, you know, get your license and get your checkout point. So maybe 360 hours of actual flight time. And then they said she's a decorated wartime veteran. Well, okay, so maybe she's been in the service since 2017, 2018.
Right.
All right. Have we been at war and in heavy combat since then?
Well, the thing is, Bill, no, he closed down the Afghan war almost immediately. The fact of the matter is, though, she could have all this flight time. How much flight time does she have flying at nighttime with those nighttime goggles on, night vision glasses?
Probably none, but she was the person in charge, and they said, "Well, she didn't have the controls." Well, okay, if you're the lead pilot, yeah, you might be letting the co or someone else fly, but the simple fact is, you're still the head person there and in control of that aircraft. That's number one.
Here's what I heard over the weekend. I listened to a couple of Army Black Hawk helicopter pilots who were retired, who said that that kind of helicopter is so fast and so maneuverable, it can be at 200 feet and be at 350 feet in like seconds because it's that fast. You know, the other news is, conversely, it can drop 200 feet in seconds, meaning if somebody was paying attention and said, wait a second, you're in a flight path, get down 200 feet now, they might have been able to bleed that distance in no time. But several people weren't seemingly paying attention. The person in charge on the helicopter, the pilot, and the control tower operator, who seemed surprised, by the way, that the accident happened. Did you see that? I just saw a flash. I mean, holy smokes.
Yeah. Well, I understand one of the people left one in there. There was a lot of problems with it, and I think the previous administration knows, and they're trying to clean that up. This young girl, they said 400 plus hours, so 400 hours, I'm sorry, but for a veteran person, you know, and even for the term that she's been in, that's kind of lightweight in hours. It means that she might have been kind of rusty.
Well, you know what, Bill, you know what my big problem is? Seriously. I think that they shouldn't be doing training exercises across the river from a busy airport, a congested airport like Reagan.
No, well, yeah, you don't go okay, let's go on the streets of Manhattan. Let's bring some gunships in there and let's do some training in there.
Let's go.
Why not?
Yeah, let's get on Fifth Avenue.
What could possibly go wrong?
We're going to do some strafing exercises on Fifth Avenue.
Don't worry, there's nothing here. It's just enjoy the show. You know?
Exactly.
Oops, they collided over your head.
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, you know what? All I'm saying is, has nothing to do. It does, but it doesn't with her sexual orientation, because it does to the people that put her there. But if she made a judgment mistake, then let's call it what it is. It was a mistake in judgment.
You made a good point. See, this is the thing we're trying to emphasize here. It's not whether she's got gender issues or whether she's has somebody who is maybe she's gay or whatever. That means nothing at all. What the problem is, if she was promoted just because of that, if she was promoted not due to merit and qualifications, but was promoted because she checked off a box, we need to have. If that's why she was promoted, then that has got to be changed and fixed now. If somebody is a transgender or a gay and they are the most qualified person, God bless them. God bless them. Let them do. That's their business. All right. If they're doing the job, but they had a picture of her just last month. She was an escort at the Medal of Freedom Awards at the White House.
Yes.
And she was all dressed up, and I felt really bad. The poor young woman is gone now, but she was actually part of Biden's DEI cadre. Do you know? I think she was escorting somebody who was a champion of DEI. So when President Trump came out initially and said it may have been a DEI problem, and the media jumped all over him, the fact of the matter is, he probably knew right then and there that was the issue. That was one of the serious issues. Maybe not the whole issue, maybe not the only issue, but that was an issue that contributed to the accident. And
look, if you make a mistake, when I've made mistakes, I've had to own my mistakes. Now, if my mistakes were because of somebody else's mistake, I was put into a position I wasn't qualified for. It's not my fault for taking that position, but it is somebody's fault for giving me that position. Yeah. And so some of that bad goes on them. We all make mistakes. This was a tragic mistake. Now, that's assuming that it's 100% theirs. I think there's a lot of players in this.
Now, on the other hand, I salute that young woman for being a part of our military, for spending a part of her life in training, trying to help. She was a patriot. Whether she was, maybe she wasn't good at her job, or maybe she was. Maybe she was.
But I'm not even going to take that away from her. And for the respect of her family, we salute her service, and it's tragic. We're sorry for your loss. If there was a situation she was put into that she shouldn't have been put into, that's not her fault.
No,
and that's
true.
Not your fault. That goes all the way up the ladder. You got Buttigieg, you got Biden.
Yep.
You ask them, what the hell were they thinking?
That's true. But anyway, thank her and her family for the sacrifice. God bless her. She's in our prayers. Also, this is interesting. Getting back to the tariff situation. I don't know if you heard this or not, but Justin Trudeau, the outgoing prime minister up there in Canada, he had some comments that say like he was going to take on America. Listen.
I am announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives.
Okay, now what I want to do is point something out that I mentioned before, okay? He's going to go after, what did he say, $125 billion worth of American goods. I would like to remind Mr. Trudeau, the outgoing Prime Minister of Canada, that we had that $200 million Canadian subsidy that we just give Canada. We help to subsidize the... Yeah, so if you want to screw around with our $120 million, like you're going to punish us, we'll just yank the $200 million subsidy and see how that works out for you there, Justin, baby. You know?
Yeah, and you know what? These are things that are coming into his country, all right, and that his people want and pay for. So, okay, we're putting a tariff on them, and you're going to pay more because you're not coming to the table with us. Now, we don't bring in that many things from Canada. Well, you know what? GM has a plant there and manufactures cars there. Right. So we'll put a tariff on it. Well, guess what? You know, Trump is trying to bring back the manufacturing to Detroit. Yes, that's been there for a while, but...
Yeah, in St. Catherine, Ontario,
Yeah, so, okay, that's fine. Justin, we'll shut down the plant. We'll reopen the plants here in the United States. You know, you tell that to your labor force there that's going to lose a job because of your stupidity. You know, you get more from us than we do from you.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is just say, yeah, you know what? We're going to do something to stop this drug flow. We're going to get rid of the illegals too. We're on page. Let's work this out.
What they don't tell you, and what he didn't tell you there, I have a longer version, is that he specifically is targeting red American states. Those are states that voted Republican. He wants to hurt the people who voted for President Trump. Good luck with that, Justin. One of the states he wants to. He was talking about the Canadians love their orange juice. Well, we'll have a hard time getting orange juice. Well, orange juice is one of the big growers. What, Florida, right? So he's trying to scare the Florida businesses to think that they're going to be, hurting. Listen, all I would say to Americans is have an extra glass of orange juice every day, and we'll make up the difference. Okay. Do that as a patriotic gesture. Buy some American orange juice and drink it.
And you know what, Justin, go ahead and grow your own oranges up in Canada. Why don't
good
you
luck
try
with that? See how those Nova Scotia oranges are.
Yeah, they really ought to be. Yeah, right.
It's amazing. I think he's on a phone call with President Trump today, as is the president of Mexico. It wouldn't surprise me if they come to some kind of solution, this week at least. It's not going to last long, I don't think.
Let's be honest. All the news that you've heard and the negative stuff, and Justin said this. There you go. We got you by the cojones. And Mexico's, yeah, we're doing the same thing. We got him by the cojones. And the liberal news is going, oh, they got Trump by the cojones. Well, now the real news is back on the job on Monday because that's just the way it works.
And then there's the Democrats, the far left, who are saying, "What a cojones!"
What are they? So, and that's the rest of the story, folks. So now wait for the real stuff.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see. This is going to be a busy week, folks. Busy week. We got Netanyahu coming into town, I think, tomorrow. And President Trump is back. He looked exhausted on Friday. He looked kind of rested. It's amazing. This guy, he can recharge his batteries like in a day. When I saw him Friday night, when he was walking out of the press conference, there was a press conference Friday in the briefing room at the White House, and he walked out and his shoulders were hunched over, and he looked tired. He had the weight of the world on his shoulder. Yesterday, when he got off that plane, it was like, hey, I feel good. Must have had a couple of rounds, maybe a round or two of golf and some sunshine, and he was back on his game. J.D. Vance was on with Maria Bartiromo yesterday talking about foreign policy, and this kid I think he was a great choice for vice president because he has no problem talking to the media. Listen.
The president has so many bold ideas, from the possibility of acquiring Greenland, putting up this Iron Dome in America, taking back the Panama Canal, renaming the Gulf to the Gulf of America. Do you expect the U.S. to acquire Greenland?
I think it's possible, Maria. So here's the thing that I think a lot of folks don't appreciate about Greenland. It's really important to our national security. There are sea lanes there that the Chinese use, that the Russians use, that frankly, Denmark, which controls Greenland, it's not doing its job and it's not being a good ally. So you have to ask yourself, how are we going to solve that problem, solve our own national security? If that means that we need to take more territorial interest in Greenland, that is what President Trump is going to do, because he doesn't care about what the Europeans scream at us. He cares about putting the interests of America's citizens first. There's another angle to this whole Greenland thing, Maria, that people don't realize. You've got probably 55,000 people living on Greenland who are not actually happy with Danish government. They've got great natural resources there. They've got an incredibly bountiful country that the Danes aren't letting them develop and explore. Of course, Donald Trump would take a different approach if he was the leader of Greenland.
And the odds of the Panama Canal?
Well, look, Panama Canal, they violated a core tenet of the agreement. Remember, when we gave over, and I think it was a mistake, but when we gave over the Panama Canal to the country of Panama, what we said is you have to make sure that this canal respects American sovereignty and that you don't give special benefits to the Chinese that you don't give to the United States of America. I think they've failed to meet their end of the bargain, and we're very serious about making sure they do meet their end of the bargain.
You're one of the youngest vice presidents that we've ever seen in the history of our country. Are you expecting to run for president in 3.5 years?
Maria, you're the first person who's asked me that, and I'd say that we've not thought a lot about politics in the last 6 months. We've thought about getting the American people's business done. We'll see what happens come 2028. But the way that I think about this is the best thing for my future is actually the best thing for the American people, which is that we do a really good job over the next 3.5 years. So we'll cross the political bridge when we come to it. I'm not thinking about running for president. I'm thinking about doing a good job for the American people. And I think the best way to do that is to make sure that President Trump is a success.
And how important is it to bring young people into the political conversation?
So huge, so important. And I think that's certainly one of the things, one of the responsibilities that I take seriously. I've got a 7-year-old, an almost 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old kid at home. I do think I view America's political problems from the perspective of a young father, because that's exactly what I am. So I definitely try to bring that perspective into the Oval Office and meetings on Capitol Hill. That's an important role for me to play, and I'll keep on playing it.
And I love that. You're a family man. And one of the first executive orders that President Trump signed in was school choice.
Yes.
And so we talk about education. Do you have a vision there in terms of how things should look for your children as they grow up? You're talking about killing or shutting down the education department to save costs. So what does the education look like?
Well, I think we could save costs and actually give American children a better education. We spend way more per pupil on on education than almost any country in the world, and we've gotten worse and worse outcomes. I think the president's exactly right that if you give parents more choice and more capacity to choose what's in the best interest of their kids, then we're going to make education better for all American children. It's really weird to me, actually, that so many politicians, they send their kids to private schools, but then they want to deny that opportunity to the families of poor children or middle-class children. My attitude is anything that's good enough for my kids, I want to give all Americans those opportunities, and that's exactly what the president's school choice policy aims to do.
Mr. VP, are you going to Ohio on Monday? Can you tell us about your trip? You're going to be with Lee Zeldin?
Yeah, the plan is, so Lee Zeldin, our great new EPA administrator and just a dear friend. I really love Lee, so we'll have a good time. But we're actually going to go and visit the East Palestine train derailment. And it matters a lot to me personally because my first month as a United States Senator, you had this terrible train disaster. I'll be going back a couple years later as the Vice President of the United States and really just to check in on how the cleanup is going. The big question that I had as a senator is people would always ask, is the water clean to drink? Is the air clean to breathe? And luckily, we now have a great EPA administrator who I think can answer those questions and fix the problems on the ground. We're just going to go do a little fact-finding, talk to people, and see what's happening.
That was incredible. When you put the stick in the water, when you were a senator and you showed us exactly what had occurred, I was grateful that you did that. Thank you for that and telling the country really what had taken place. Look, I know it's only been 11 days, 12, 13 days as vice president, but can you give us some observations? What's it like? How are you doing?
Look, I'm doing great. It's the coolest job I've ever had, and it's an honor to serve. It's hard not to pinch yourself when you walk into the Oval Office. I was raised by a woman who didn't graduate from high school, much less from college, and here I am going to the Oval Office with the President of the United States. My kids are really happy that the family has adjusted to this very well. And look, I'm learning a lot, actually, about the President's leadership, about the way that he takes input and opinions from many different people. It's making me, I think, a better leader myself. And it's just something that I try to remind myself, it's a blessing to have this job. I got to do as good of a job by the American people as I possibly can.
I think it's great that he's going to East Palestine, Ohio today to do a revisit. Was the first politician to show up when he was a senator from Ohio, brand new senator. And I can remember seeing him, like Maria said, he went there with a stick to the water and he messed it up a bit, and you could see the chemicals that were in the water. It'll be interesting whether he goes back to that same site and tries to do that again, and whether there's been any cleanup. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I was going to say, while that story was playing and I was listening, I also, we had talked about Canada and businesses. I don't know if we mentioned this or not, but apparently 60% of Canadian businesses are looking to be acquired or do acquisitions in the United States. 48% are saying we're going to get the hell out of Canada and come to the United States. So, that tariff thing is really working out for old.
Well, the other thing is this, if Trudeau keeps messing around like this and screwing things up, you're going to get more and more people. Although let me put a caveat on that. They had a hockey game, I think, yesterday in Canada, and when they played the national anthem, the American national anthem, like they do both national anthems. When an American team and a Canadian team play, they play both, and the crowd booed our national anthem, which I thought was interesting. But that being said, there's a large segment, especially in Western Canada, who would love to be a part of our country. So it'll be...
well, I mean, if what I just said does come to fruition, there's going to be a lot of jobs lost in Canada and a lot of jobs gained in the United States. So Justin needs to adjust his policies real quick, or his legacy as he leaves office is going to be very tainted.
Yes. Interesting thing happened over the weekend. I don't know if you saw this, Bill. We were talking about the different accidents and the different problems in D.C. and in Philadelphia with planes. The FAA was forced to use a backup system after the main warning system for pilots was out for some unknown reason. They don't know what caused it. The Federal Aviation Administration forced to use a backup system after its main warning system for pilots went down on Saturday night. They said on Sunday morning, well, we got it back, sort of. We're all, But why did it go down? Is this part of a continuing problem? I mean, are they all connected in some way? Are we going to find out down the road that there was some kind of a software glitch or that affected the pilots flying in Washington and the situation in Philadelphia too?
Well, maybe a software glitch or maybe a human glitch of somebody going, well, you know what, I'm going to teach everyone a lesson. And we'll blame this on Trump. There's a lot of things that can go on.
That person,
that would be terrible.
That person belongs behind bars.
Well, you've got the other jet crash too that they're looking. I'm thinking that was a stall. What
happened in Houston yesterday? The plane was getting ready to take off and an engine blew up.
Now that leads me to something I wasn't going to bring up, but I'll go ahead and bring it up because there's a lot of weird things going on, and it's weird how Trump gets in and all these disasters. That kind of makes me think that some of these things are planned mayhem, because one of the things that I've been hearing consistently over the weekend from basic liberals, well, I'm not going to stop my trip. I'm still going, but I'm not going to fly. They are knowingly and willingly say, we're going to tank the airline industry and just not fly on it.
Well, I know that I guess the Democrats, one of the things they were talking about is not flying. They're going to start taking the train. Well, good luck with that.
Well, I go back to the Palestine accident, the derailment. The tracks, that was something Obama and Biden promised they were going to do. They got a lot of money to redo the tracks and build up the railroad industry.
Where did that money go, Bill? Nobody says, I mean, I can tell you if someone gives me money to do something and I don't do it, they're going to say, where's the money? Where's the money? But in politics, it's like, oh, okay.
They look the other way because they know where it's going, and it's not going to anything good. It's going in pockets of politicians and foreign concerns.
Interesting thing. Another thing, this is strange stuff. Happened, I guess it was yesterday in Los Angeles. Anti-ICE protesters took to the streets of Los Angeles on Sunday, which included the freeway itself. The 101 freeway in downtown L.A. Was closed as a result of lawless people walking onto the southbound side of the freeway. What they're not telling you is that many of them were carrying and waving Mexican flags and Venezuelan flags, okay? Now, call me crazy. First of all, here's the other thing that you got. California, you brought this on yourself. There was initially an order to arrest issued to break up the crowd because it was an unlawful demonstration. But then that order was rescinded by, they think, the mayor or even above her because they wanted it to go on. It's a sanctuary city. So no problem there. Just keep dancing in the middle of the 101 and backing up traffic till forever. The other thing that was crazy, when I saw a picture of this, Bill, the police responded to this demonstration with about, I want to say they must have had 50, at least 50 police cars from L.A. And where did they park the 50 police cars? They parked them on the 101. And so the biggest blockade were the cops themselves. And then after that, they were standing there, the cops, and just they had a barrier going across the highway, and the crowd was on one side, and they were on another side with their car, and they weren't doing anything.
Let me ask you a question. Have you heard anything in the news about the fires out west over the weekend?
Well, I heard that they had a massive rainstorm, and now they're worried about the mudslides.
Well, that was last week, but I understand
that was yesterday.
Okay, well, yeah, they were predicting it, though. The rain started actually last week. You headed into the weekend. So, yeah, but either way, did it put out all the fires? Because I don't think it did. And
well, there are other things to talk about, Bill. There's important stuff to talk about. You know,
yeah.
the news has a short attention span. You know?
Well, here's one. I mean, you know, they did it. I think it was it this Saturday or the weekend before they did the paperwork to say, we're going to succeed from the United States. And I started thinking about that. I was going, well, really, except for L.A. and maybe San Diego, you know, those are where all the libtards live,
right,
in those concrete jungles, which are burning. And the productive parts of California are conservative. And there was a move once, and they said, no, you can't do that, to divide the state into two states.
Yeah, California, and I think they wanted to call it New California. That's
well, why don't we just sit there and let the left divide Los Angeles and San Diego, which has nothing to produce, but they do have a lot of manure that comes from their mouths and their minds. Let them produce all that they want and divide the productive ends of the state into their own statehood. And you want to leave? Good luck. See ya. Water may take you soon anyway.
I thought it was interesting with these people with the Mexican and Venezuelan flags. I would have thought that was a great opportunity for ICE to go grab them. You know, I mean, if they're going to be waving, by the way, note to people who are demonstrating in this country from that are here illegally, if you want to endear yourself to the people of this country, you might want to wave American flags. I'm just saying, you know, you come into this country illegally, you're here as a criminal essentially, and you're waving your former country's flag. Well, that's not a smart move on your part. But I would have thought an ICE could have said, okay, this will be an easy pickup. Bring the bus around back, and everybody who has a Mexican flag, check their ID, make sure they're here illegally. If they're here illegally, put them on the bus. You know,
were there Venezuelans there?
They had Venezuelan flags,
so maybe they had guns too. I mean, you know, I might have been a little tepid about going in after them, because that could have turned into a big, massive gunfight, which is one thing the administration doesn't want.
Well, it could have, would have, should have, but they did. It looked like they didn't do anything. Other thing that happened yesterday, you know, does anybody? Let's see a show of hands. How many people in this audience really give a damn about the Grammy Awards?
The what?
Yeah, I didn't think so. They were last night. I don't know who won. Don't ask me. I don't care. All right. And I loved music. I spent my whole life playing music on the radio. That's what I did. I love music. And there was a time when I really did watch the Grammys, because they had some really talented people as people who were winning them. Now it's like who? What does that person do? Anyway, there was they come in on the red carpet, and everybody, ooh, doesn't she look nice? Well, Kanye West, who decided he calls himself Ye.
Yeah.
He calls himself Ye now. Ye West, he has a partner. He doesn't have Kim Kardashian anymore. I guess they split a couple of years ago. So he has this new girlfriend, not married, I guess. They're just partners. And they're walking on this red carpet, and she comes in with this big fur coat on. She looks like a bear, okay? And speaking of bears, she decides to all of a sudden, she takes the coat off, and She's nude. No, they said she had a sheer dress on, but damned if I could see it. No,
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
For the
and
sake
there's
of our
nothing
audience,
sheer there.
for the sake of our audience, I had to check it out and see what they were talking about.
Yes, of course.
Yes, and she was au naturel. I guess he tried to get in. They tried to get into the venue with her dressed or undressed like that, and they said, no, you'll have to leave. So Kanye was escorted, and his girlfriend were escorted from the Grammys. But he got a lot of attention. And the other thing is this. I do think, economically speaking, it was a good cost-cutting move on his part because he didn't have to pay some high-end designer to make her dress. It's just like...
Well, her hair was slicked back, so they probably bought some very nice designer hair gel.
Yes,
Yeah.
obviously.
All the money was in the hair
you
gel.
did some checking out of it too.
No, I was looking at the hair.
Okay. There is this actress/singer named Joy Villa. Here's the Villa. Joy Villa, and I have to applaud this young lady. She was there wearing a hat that said "The hat stays on," but it looked like
I saw that.
It looks like a MAGA hat. And she was interviewed by, I guess, the Hollywood Reporter, and she had this to say. Listen.
I think the ones that should be deported are being deported. To be honest, I'm a Latina. My family came from this country to this country legally. And I love to see rapists, human traffickers deported. I don't want to see them here. I want us to be free for all colors, for all people. Like, that's what makes America great again. So we can create, so we can live. Like, as an artist, as a musician, I want to be able to walk at night and not think that I'm going to get killed by an illegal alien. And so those are the people getting deported, and those are the people that should get deported.
Now, understand something. This is not the exception to the rule. She speaks like a lot of people who are in this country legally, who came across even if they have like a temporary visa. We have a guy who mows our lawn, right? And he fertilizes our lawn. He's from Mexico. He comes over here. I guess he spends like 8 months a year on a work visa. And he is very pro legal immigration. If he comes to this country and lives, he wants it to be the right way. He doesn't like these people who are cutting the corner. And apparently, from what I understand, he says that the people who are here illegally, for the most part, are not the contributors to society. They're the takers from society. They aren't here to make a good living. They're here to take a good living.
And the guy that does this for your lawn, I know you're not a cheap guy, so you're paying him top notch. So, and he's on a work visa thing here, or whatever that is.
Well, this guy, I had the company that I have do the lawn service. He doesn't cut my lawn. He just fertilizes and aerates it and stuff. But this guy, they say he's an incredibly hard worker, and he gets paid a real good pay. The company pays him well because he does a good job. And that's what this guy loves about America. He loves the fact that, you come here, you perform, and you're paid for your service. When I hear these politicians say, well, they do jobs that nobody else would like to do, not necessarily so, folks. There are people out there, this guy who fertilizes my lawn, it's hard work, but it's good work, and he gets a good pay.
There are a lot of people that sit there and think that there are certain jobs they're above. And I used to sit there when I lived down in Florida, and I had a pool, and the lady would come to do, all the chemicals in the pool. She came once a week, and I'm sitting there going, I'd hear noise outside. I'm going, who is out there at 6:30 in the morning? It'd be her doing everything, and she'd do her job, and that was it, And I mean, it was like $50 a week. It was something like that, which seems like maybe a lot, but it's not. She was only there for maybe 10 minutes, and she did all the pulls down the street there in Florida and then go on. And I thought, boy, that's a tough job, not making much money. And you're going, well, that's probably not that great. But number one, she could go out in her jeans and, her regular top and go and do stuff like that. But I was out one time getting some dinner and having a drink, and she was there. Turned out that, the little truck that I saw her drive
was hers.
That she drove there. But the big, nice Mercedes that she also drove was hers, and a few other cars. And I'm sitting there going, well, let me ask you a question. How much money exactly do you make? She goes, well, I usually get on the block somewhere between $300 and $400 in a block. I'm going, really? Well, how many blocks do you do a day? She does. Sometimes I do up to 10 blocks of, just doing the pulls. I'm going like $4,000 a day. You're making $4,000 a day with an easy job. You just go and check the chemicals in the pool. You balance it out. That's it.
Yeah. It probably does a good job. Probably does exactly what she promises
her
to
own
do.
Business.
Yeah.
Her own business. So
but Bill, this is what our country was founded on. The legal immigrants who came to this country that joined our melting pot, as we used to call it, they came here. They were hardworking. I think of the Italians who came across in the Italian wave. We had the Portuguese who came across. These are hardworking people. The French, the Irish, they all came across, and the ones who couldn't speak English were proud of the fact that they had learned, even if in a broken English, they had tried at least to learn the language.
Well, we put a lot of emphasis on education, and it's important. This woman didn't have, education. She didn't have college. She didn't speak broken English. She was an American.
Yeah.
But someone else might say, "Oh, she's stupid. She's dumb as a box of rocks." But she came up with this idea to do this business. And she's doing very well. Thank you very much. I met somebody else that did something just like that when computers were coming of age. There were older people that wanted to be on the internet.
Sure.
But they didn't know how to do that. So she would basically go to their house, charge them a consulting fee for the hour, and sit there and show them, just like driving a car, how to do the basic stuff so they could get on, surf the internet. They could do messaging and stuff like that. And she was doing very well with it. She made a lot of money with it. Also, what she did was for these people, they were lonely. And so it gave them a voice and a face to talk to while they learned how to socialize on the internet. Now, this was a while back, but I'm saying there are a lot of creative opportunities out there if we so desire to do them. But some people
But what did the illegals? What did Biden do with the illegals that are coming across over the last 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
He gave them an opportunity to come in here and get stuff, not to contribute stuff, but to get stuff. I think about when I worked in New York back in the late 70s. I would walk by the Roosevelt Hotel in New York on 45th Street and Fifth Avenue. Beautiful hotel. It had these beautiful polished brass doors and a marquee above it. It was a fancy hotel, even back in the late 70s. But I guess it had gone by some rough times over the last few decades, and I guess it was closed down. So what did New York do when the illegals started coming in? They opened it up to the illegals, and from what I understand now, they've trashed the place. The place, this beautiful old ornate building, is a shadow of what it once was. It is not the same thing as it used to be, which is a shame. I mean, a company could come in there tomorrow with some money and refurbish it and make it into a really nice hotel again if they had the desire. But when you give things to people, I'll never forget there was a story when I was younger about a millionaire. A guy was worth, maybe he was a billionaire. This is back in the 60s, 70s. He wanted to help the poor. So what he did is he went into a neighborhood, I forgot where it was, and he built a beautiful condominium complex, where these were nice apartments. And he gave them, either he gave them or he gave it at a discount to the poor people in that neighborhood. Come on in, you'll have a nice place to stay. The sad part about it is the people who got the condos didn't truly appreciate it because it was given to them. It wasn't earned. They were just, and before you know it, this show place was a disaster. It was a disaster. It was the walls were messed up. The lighting.
They didn't earn it.
They didn't earn it. Didn't appreciate it. This is the situation we have right now with the illegals. They come across the border, and with Biden, instead of escorting them back, they're taken to a bus. They were taken to a bus. to the airport, and from the airport flown to different cities. Then they were put up for free. They were given. Remember we were talking about this about a year ago, Bill? They were given like $1,000 gift cards every month and stuff like that to buy groceries. They didn't have to do anything. It wasn't a real world they were living in. And now these same people are upset because we're talking about sending them back. That's why they were demonstrating in L.A., Bill. They were demonstrating in L.A. because they were upset with the fact that Trump is sending them all back. Well, I'm sorry. Get used to it. You're going back. And if you keep demonstrating, I would say, on highways like the 101, maybe your governor won't do anything. But at some point, you're going to probably find troops coming in and rounding you up and sending you back home. It'll be a way for the government to find out where you are and escorting you to your homeland. And by the way, there are some countries, I should point this out, there are some countries in the world that wouldn't be as nice as the United States is in the removal process. We are considerate. You probably, if you're escorted back to Venezuela, you'll probably fly on a nice airplane and given a voucher of some kind, maybe even a stipend to help you get on your way when you're back in Venezuela. That doesn't happen in other countries in Europe and in Africa and places like that. You violate their laws, they throw you across the border, and good luck. I'm surprised Mexico isn't more cooperative, because if the United States wanted to, seriously, they could take all the illegals they have and literally take them to the border and tell them that way, south, And can you imagine the problem that would cause Mexico? But, the problem is, in this country we live in, we've been a gracious and warm neighbor to people sometimes who take it for granted. We have been the protector of the Western world for decades, and they don't really appreciate it. And I could go on, but also I thought this is interesting. President Trump signed an executive order. I guess it was on Friday. He said he's requiring government agencies, to eliminate 10 existing regulations for every new regulation he issues, so the government issues. So if a new regulation comes down, the agency affected has got to take 10 of the worst, oldest, outdated, and remove them from the system. It no longer valid, gone, which I thought was neat. Anything else?
With the old and with the new.
Yep. I want to remind people that we have a delicious coffee available to you. Yeah, I know we talked about it earlier in the show, but for those of you who are maybe you're saying, well, I could use a cup of coffee. I just listened to these guys talk for a little over an hour, and I'm thirsty. Well, I think we got the answer for you. It's Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, a medium blend roast, a delicious cup of coffee. You'll love it. It's only available in our gift shop, in our storefront, our digital storefront, which is rightsideshop.com, rightsideshop.com. Or you can go to our website, it'sanotherday.com. And Bill, there's a button up on the top, right, that says rightsideshop.com. You click on it. And that's
absolutely it. Right Side Shop, and it doesn't say .com, just says Right Side Shop, but it takes you to rightsideshop.com and our store, and there you have the coffee and some other swag that goes along with it. And there's going to be more progressively down the road. There's a new coffee called Make America Percolate Again, or the acronym, which is MAPA.
MAPA Coffee.
MAPA Coffee. You can only get it one place. And that's ours. Somebody told me, though, it was kind of cool and very cool design. And a few people have already found it and have bought it. But they said, that's going to be stolen by other people. And I'm sitting there going, it probably will.
Well,
guys, you got to design.
If you have our caffeine coffee, you can't take a Napa with MAPA. I'm sorry.
See,
that's a stretch.
You just won't have the slogans that we got.
That's right.
There you go.
You won't have our wonderful delivery on our commercials either. And you know what you won't have? You won't have. And you know what we did?
Crossings.
And the guys are crying. The guys are crying.
You know why?
Why?
Did you introduce them on the last?
I don't know whether they did.
Commercial we did?
Well, we'll make sure they're on the first commercial. But I almost forgot them this time around.
These guys are unforgettable.
Juan, Jose, and the Border Crossers.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Marvelous. Anything else you want to add, sir? A lot of things
There's
happen.
a lot of things we can add, but you know what? This is Monday, and as soon as we turn off the microphones, because it's that time of the morning,
right?
The news will start to trickle in. People have, they've had their overnight rest. They've had their breakfast. They're having coffee, and now it's time to get to work. And you're going to hear the rest of the story, and a lot of things I think are going to take place today. Got those.
They just elected a new chairman of the DNC, and the vice chair is this kid, David Hogue. You might have heard of him. He's 24 years old. He wants to abolish ICE. He wants to defund the police and designate National Rifle Association as a terrorist group. What do you think of that?
I think he's an idiot, but you know what? And the Democrats are going to clamor around that. And the simple fact is, that's why he got the job.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the one thing that they should have looked at is looked at the election and looked at the numbers, because the will of the people would indicate to me they're freaking idiots. What they want to do.
It's like all you had to do is look at the last election. Everything that this guy stands for, the country voted against. So,
they don't want.
Yeah. So, what does the Democrat Party do? Well, let's double down on that wrong stance, that dumb platform. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, my friend, I'm done. I have nothing more to add. We will pick this up where we left it off tomorrow on tomorrow's program. Anything you want to add to take us out of here?
I was going to say, if that's the case, if that's what you say, then I've only got one thing left to do.
Well, what's that?
Hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.